We're here to make our case for South Carolina being in the college football playoff. First things first, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. College football, nothing but college football all year long. You got the transfer portal opening up. You got signing day this week. You got conference title. You got the college football playoff. Just make sure you're locked in here. All right, once y'all dialed into the nth degree, we appreciate you in advance for being subscribed. So let's not muck this picture up too much. Throw auto bids out the window. Throw conference logos out the window. Throw resumes out the window. Purely your eyeballs. You're told to pick the 12 best teams in college football. South Carolina is one of those teams. You say, well, hey, but they shouldn't have lost 3 games. Yep, just the 12 best teams. South Carolina is one of those 12 best teams. And they proved it again yesterday at Clemson. And I think that game, honestly, South Carolina didn't even really play their best football. I think Clemson's actually a good football team. Clemson could be the ACC champ. Clemson could very easily find themselves with a bye the first round of the college football playoff, and South Carolina just beat them at their place. What does it say about South Carolina? And I know that's a slippery slope to go down because there's a million other teams you could point to if they have a win over a potential conference champion. I get it, but I'm just saying now, with South Carolina, they are one of the 12 best teams. By nature of how they've played these last couple of weeks, they haven't lost since October. I mean, all their losses are against ranked teams when they had them. 2 of their 3 losses are by 1 score. Had a slip up against Ole Miss. Quite frankly, the LSU game should have been a win. Should have is a key word there. I understand shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda. LaNorris was hurt in the second half of that game. If he stays healthy, they beat LSU. All right, so we're not even having this discussion. Let's talk about this too. The teams that would get in over South Carolina. Probably Bama's the one you talk about. And then the ACC is the other school you look at. So we'll unpack this together right now. Let's start with the ACC rep. If Clemson wins the ACC, SMU is likely the team that would take the at-large spot from South Carolina. SMU's schedule, God bless them, is 75th when it comes to strength of schedule in all of college football. By comparison, South Carolina's strength of schedule is 15. But they shouldn't have lost 3 games. Okay, well then SMU, based on what they did this year, put them in South Carolina's position. Are they losing more than 3 games? I'd have to believe so. Based on, again, what we're talking about with how SMU looks versus how South Carolina looks. And if the conversation is 12 best teams, I think it's fair for us to live a little bit in the hypothetical world. Not irresponsibly so, but again, if you're trying to get the 12 best teams and it's SMU versus South Carolina, you cannot tell me that SMU's 1 loss in the ACC by nature of playing Louisville, Stanford, Duke, and Pitt is the same as South Carolina playing Ole Miss at Alabama, at Oklahoma, and A&M. Now, you can't tell me we're living in the same world here. Again, if the goal is to get the 12 best teams, I think South Carolina, by nature of the eye test, what our eyeballs tell us, watching them play college football, tells us they're one of the 12 best teams. So the other conversation here is let's go ahead and say that SMU makes it nice and easy for us. They win the ACC. Clemson, they're out of the college football playoff. Then you look at who's ahead of South Carolina in the rankings. Based on the most recent college football playoff ranking review, Alabama is ahead of South Carolina. I am fascinated to see what happens on Tuesday if South Carolina makes up any ground. The tricky part about this is, and this is extremely fair, so I don't expect the committee to do this. I wish they would. I wish they would have a little bit of gumption, a little bit of conviction, a little bit of common sense, if you will, to be able to put them ahead of Alabama by nature of how they've played as of late. Now, common sense is a little bit of an aggressive word to use there because, again, the head-to-head favors Alabama. Here's where I fall on that. Is it harder to unsee South Carolina losing by 2 in Tuscaloosa in October, or is it harder to unsee Alabama failing to score an offensive touchdown, losing 24-3 against Oklahoma, a team now that South Carolina beat 35-9? The head-to-head is tricky. I totally understand that. But again, using our eyes, using our common sense, using who is playing the best football right now, 2-3 loss teams, Alabama, South Carolina, a two points on the road is really going to dictate who we think gets that last spot in the college football playoff. I'll say this. I think if I'm anybody in the college football playoff waiting to get my opponent, I would much rather play Alabama than South Carolina. And again, that's just opinion, so we're venturing into some very much so subjective territory. Guess what? College football in the 12-team playoff, it's subjective. That's why they have a 13-person committee. So if we're going by that logic now, I would have to believe the edge defenders, the defense, the quarterback, all that, man. South Carolina would scare me a whole heck of a lot more. especially with how they've played as of late. So again, I understand the committee may not do this, and that's fine. The committee's been wrong before. They'll probably be wrong again. And I would definitely put South Carolina into the college football playoff if we're going by 12 best teams, which again is supposed to be the criteria we're going with here. Okay, so we said a lot there. Clearly you can tell we have some emotion here behind this take. But even if South Carolina is not in the college football playoff, do we just pack it in if we're a Gamecock fan? We just say, oh man, good year. That was our year though. No, I mean, the future in Columbia, South Carolina is extremely bright. Like that foundation, from what I can tell, is solid as a rock behind Shane Beamer and your quarterback, who is a star right now in the sport, LaNorris. Dude is special, man. Like I understand the college football playoff race around some of these other teams is getting a little bit more attention. What LaNorris is doing right now at South Carolina is special. And he's just getting started. If you were watching that game yesterday with him against Clemson, how many times Clemson won up front and should have sacked him? I mean, I think PFF had him at 18 broken tackles and something like 170 yards after contact. Dude is different. Dude is very, very different. He makes plays that when you compare the feeling you get watching him evade pressure in the pocket, I only have that feeling around guys like a Cam Newton, like a Johnny Manziel. Heck, I mean, Tim Tebow, the way he runs the football. And those are lofty comparisons. I totally understand that. But I'm just saying, like, the emotion and the way that I watch him play football with, to me, I have that same emotion I had watching those guys play ball. You understand what he's doing he's not supposed to be doing. Like to go Optimus Prime when you got a grown man as defensive end running after you and gets his hands on you to break out of that and then run for a touchdown to win the freaking football game, like, special. Very, very special. So to bring home this point now, he's going to be in Columbia, South Carolina for the foreseeable future. You're going to have a chance in every single game. Going forward to, people see what South Carolina is at the high school level and in the portal. People are going to want to come be a part of that. People are going to want to come be a part of the Shane Beamer, I would have to believe, just like culture and program. People are going to want to come play with LaNorris. This is just the jumping off point for South Carolina. So committee, if you're watching this, put them in the darn playoff. Do the right thing. They're going to be the most, I think, competitive team of the group you're picking from to put them in the college football playoff. But even if you don't, South Carolina, I would have to believe, will be in this conversation going forward because of all the reasons I just mentioned. So I'm sure we all agree that's watching. I'm sure everyone who is hearing this is 100% in agreement with us on South Carolina being in the college football playoff. But if you're not, by the off chance, let us know in the comment section. Get at me on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.